Hey, listeners, welcome to the show. I'm Billie with an IE.
And I'm Lara.
And Mark.
Welcome to the Vampcast, lurking here on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. We're spoiler-filled podcast covering all things vampire-related or vampire-adjacent. Currently, we are dedicating our cast to AMC's The Vampire Lestat. We will do our best to avoid future book spoilers in our discussion, but if you are interested in book talk, we will add that in at the very end of the podcast. Today, we'll be covering The Vampire Lestat episode 6 entitled Montreal.
My favorite place to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I really do like Montreal. I've been there a couple of times, and oh my God, I highly recommend it to a lot of people.
I went over the winter, and it was fantastic, although I got stuck trying to come home because of the fact that it's winter in North America.
Oh, no. I went during the summer or fall at the, summer and then fall. And it's really cool. And it's really cool because a lot of people think Canadians are snooty.
Mm-mm.
And no, they and if you go to Montreal, it's very much vacationers, American vacationers, and they all speak English as soon as you're American. Okay, I speak that too. I speak English. Okay,
you'll get plenty of Quebecois though. You will definitely get plenty of Quebecois.
Yeah.
Unless the town is teeming with vampires, then maybe you don't want to go. Or maybe you do.
Or maybe
if
you
you're
do.
us. In episode 6, Montreal, or as Lestat said it, Montreal, months after the events in New York, Lestat and Louis are living together in Montreal as preparations continue for Lestat's massive memorial concert, an event expected to draw tens of thousands of vampires. While Lestat's rock album has been poorly received by human critics, it has become a sensation with the vampire world, fueling fears that the concert could trigger a dangerous great conversion of humanity into vampires. As the two lovers settle into a tentative peace, documentary journalist Daniel Malloy conducts another interview with them. The conversation forces Louis and Lestat to confront unresolved issues from their past and reveal how much of their bond has endured despite decades of separation and betrayal. The episode takes an emotional turn when painful truths surface about their shared history. Louis learns one of Lestat's deepest secrets, leading to difficult but necessary conversations about guilt, love, and forgiveness. At the same time, figures from their past reemerge, including Claudia, in a haunting spiritual confrontation that forces both vampires to face the consequences of their actions. While Louis and Lestat begin to imagine a future together, hidden agendas threaten their fragile reconciliation. Daniel's connection to Armand becomes increasingly important, and tensions surrounding the upcoming concert reach a breaking point. The episode culminates in a shocking betrayal that leaves Louis and Lestat gravely endangered, setting the stage for the season finale.
Normally our synopses are not this long, but a lot happens in this episode, and we are prepping for the finale, so it's important to have context.
Oh, yeah.
And here, this episode, we have all of our returning cast. Sam Reed as Lestat, Jacob Anderson as Louis, Assad Zaman as Armand, Jennifer Ely as Gabriella, Eric Bogosian as Daniel, and Delaney Hales returns as Claudia. And we get an awesome guest star appearance with Sarah Aful, I don't know if that's correct, but I hope it is, as Merrick Mayfair. And this actress has been in shows like The Moody's, Smallville, and Family Law.
Yep. Before we jump into the episode, we'd love to hear from you. Go to Facebook or Instagram page at facebook.com/the Vampcast podcast or at the Vampcast podcast on Instagram. And I'm usually resharing and putting things on my story from the Vampcast. There you can find posts on the topics that we'll be covering, and feel free to leave us a comment so that we can read them on the episode. You can also send us an email or recorded voice memo at thevampcast143@gmail.com. Again, that is thevampcast143@gmail.com. Or check out our parent network website at piratecoreentertainment.com, where you can check out all of the other shows and movies being covered on the network. And while you're in the podcast player, maybe leave us a kind review. It helps us to get noticed. We are on all of your podcast players of choice like Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. Plus, we'd love it if you shared the podcast with a friend or maybe shared one of our posts.
Excellent. And I'm not so good about posting social media stuff, but I'm trying to get better, people. So give us a chance. I posted feedback posts for this episode and the finale episode, and I think we're starting to get some finale episode feedback. So send it to us either on Facebook or Instagram, and we'll do our best to check it and read your feedback on the next episode.
And we have been talking about going on to TikTok. I am becoming somewhat of a TikTok connoisseur and making videos and things of that nature. And I might just take on this project just for fun. So the Vampcast will likely find itself on TikTok soon. So if you have a TikTok, you can find content that we make there as well.
Awesome.
Nice.
And thank you for that, Billie, because I have no clue about this.
I have no desire to go onto TikTok, and there's probably too many Gen Zers that will make fun of me. So.
Yeah, the Gen Xers are always isolated, right, Lara?
We are.
I've been seeing a lot of them on there. That and the millennials, we're starting to kind of fight back against the Gen Xers, or not Gen Xers, Gen Zers, and the younger kids, because they feel like a little too cocky with some of their opinions sometimes. So they need someone older to be like, it's not like that.
Smack their hand.
Right, exactly. So do we have initial thoughts for the episode, Laura?
I do. I think this is. I sound like a broken record, but every episode gets better. It's like we got up to the top of the roller coaster early on in this series, and then we have just been tumbling downward the whole time, and it's not a good thing. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's emotional. It's an emotional roller coaster, and it's so much fun. I've been having so much fun this season, and I thought this episode was great because it starts off kind of feeling like a rom-com, and then it moves into like supernatural space, and then at the end it becomes like a slasher thriller. So excellent episode.
Awesome.
I can mirror that sentiment a lot. We both are huge Anne Rice fans, but as a huge Anne Rice fan, I am blown away with their commitment to making sure that the spirit of the story is told correctly. Also, I want to say, I asked an acquaintance in Montreal if they celebrate Halloween like we do, and he said yes. So one of the things I was kind of like grumbling about, I was like, do they even do that in Canada? And so he confirmed for me that yes, they do celebrate Halloween with trick-or-treating in Canada, especially in Montreal. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But this episode was everything I think we needed. Like I've already seen the finale. I'm sure you've already seen the finale, so we know what happens next. Well, Mark
hasn't seen it. Okay, we can't spoil him on anything.
No, but everything, like all the what do they call it? The loose ends that needed to be tied up get tied up in this episode, because the next episode we have our biggest loose end that needs to get tied up, and they do need to devote a whole episode to that loose end. So you can definitely tell in this episode that they're just kind of tying up loose ends. And I recall several episodes ago, we asked about like what other books are they going to adapt, and we mentioned Merrick. We get that, which makes me wonder if that's how it's going to be with some of the other novels in the subsequent seasons. Because Anne wrote a lot of like one-off like Vampire Chronicles, like Pandora. We get Marius' story.
Farms.
Right, exactly. Are these novels going to get a full adaptation, or are they just going to get, a scene or an episode or something like that? And so that was a very interesting and I think good way to show us that the Immortal Universe will explore all aspects, but you just don't know how. And I wonder, so, and but they do it so well. And I can't really complain about it. And I like seeing my parents back together. I love it.
Yeah.
You and everyone else. I've heard a lot of like YouTube reviewers referring to Louis and Lestat as their gay vampire daddies.
I like seeing my parents back together. They're playing nice. I love it.
It's so strange though. It's like, I'm so used to them being on opposing ends and arguing. Yeah. And, and being catty little bitches of vampires. I don't know how else to state it, but that's how I look at it. But I do love it when they are together. But there are scenes in this episode that when you see them together and they're dealing with something, it just like, eh? It's like, okay,
They
there
have
is still a
immaculate.
little bit of tension here and there.
They have
Yes.
immaculate chemistry,
One
though.
was
Yes.
yeah, we'll get into that. But to me, it was like, oh, okay, I like this. And to start off from where my initial thoughts are, it took me a while to catch up, and I have to thank Lara and Billie for continuing and doing this. Literally, everybody, if you search in AI on Google, guess what comes up with the vampire or the vamp cast itself? It says Billie and Lara mostly. Recently, it said my name. I don't know why. You guys have been like pretty much the leading force within it when it comes to Anne Rice work that we've been covering with the Vampire Lestat interview with the vampire, the previous 2 seasons. And to me, I thought, like you stated before, each episode gets better, makes you want more and thirst for more for the story and what's going on to deep and drink the blood of what's going into it. And I did enjoy this episode. It did clear up a lot of thoughts of past, present, and what's going on, especially with the band, Daniel as well as Armand. So I was loving it because I was like, oh, I want more. I want more. Why is this only an hour? And it's like only an hour and a minute long.
Yeah.
And you're like, this could be even longer if they really, really wanted to sweeten it up. But thankfully, it's a weekly episodic show. We only get it at given time. Yes, we are behind in covering certain things, but I'm glad that we have the time to soak it in and watch it. Now, mind you, I only got first viewing versions of the past number of episodes up until this one as well. But each one kept me glued to the set and pretty much being more aware of what's going on within the scene between everyone. And there's certain characters in there that you just laugh at and you go, oh, okay. Because they, even though they're side characters, there's that whole Lestat snippiness to him being the forefront. Or Gabriella, or her quick little wit talk to Lestat at certain points, or even to Louis. And same thing with Daniel and other people too. And I just love it because even Daniel comes out and bites a little bit with his verbiage. And that really is what attracts me to it. The dialogue within the episodes have been great. I don't know about what you guys think about that.
Oh, yeah. I think we've been praising the writing pretty much every episode.
This season deserves, well, all seasons really, but this season especially deserves an award for the writing because man, those intros are magnificent. This one, the way it starts, I'm at a cross, or I'm at an intersection with all my selves or all my personalities or something like that, and he starts listing off aspects of himself. That is immaculate writing. That is excellent writing. That is a good way to start a story, let alone an episode, because it establishes to you a few things. One, the main character, the protagonist, feels fractured. He doesn't feel whole. He doesn't feel together and cohesive. He feels fractured. Also, that he's complex. Or I just got done writing an essay on Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, which, Mark, we should probably do an episode about the Odyssey.
Yes.
So but anyways, so obviously Emily Wilson, who did her translation of the Odyssey, which inspired Christopher Nolan, she translates the word polytropos into complicated man, and Lestat is definitely a polytropos. And so that beginning part, I'm at the intersection of myself. I mean, that gave me, I don't know why, that gave me like a tingling sensation down my spine when I heard that part, because I was like, man, that is some excellent writing. So yeah, this season deserves some kind of award, whether it be
Emmy.
I don't know. Yeah, Emmy, there we go. I was like, I don't know what they give awards to for
Emmy for writing, definitely. And acting, there's got to be at least 3 people that could be set forth. Everybody that's out there and that are listening, that are into that kind of thing, please submit your thoughts to who you think should be up for, whether it be for an Emmy, writing, anything of that regarding that, or even the SAG Awards or the Screen Actors Guild usually comes out on Netflix. Same thing with the Emmys. And then Oscars, it won't get an Oscar because it's not a film.
Right.
But, there are other out there that you could actually push for. And they do have open entries or suggestions out there on social media. So if you really feel the need and the love and passion for the show as much as we do, really seek that out and push it out.
Yeah, I thought one of the funniest things before we jump into storylines that I heard on the After Dark was Roland Jones talking about how he was trying to talk to Jennifer Ely about joining the cast as Gabriella, and he said, "This is the best reviewed show that nobody's talking about."
It is true.
Which is true, because it's
It is.
this show is amazing. All the critics who watch it absolutely love it. I think it still has like a 98% critics review on Rotten Tomatoes, and still it's really hard to get the word out there about this show.
It's starting to get popular though, because my TikTok is like flooded with fan-made Vampire Lestat TV stuff. I mean, I'm gonna lightly talk about one of the TikToks I saw a couple weeks ago that puts the whole seance with Claudia thing into a bit perspective. And I love it when people do this deep dive stuff into like the meaning and the themes and blah blah blah. Even if I'm like, that is far reaching, but it was very well said. But I love how people are breathing life into this world a little bit more outside of the show. And 14-year-old me would have never dreamed that the thing that I was obsessed over, silently obsessed over, like it was my whole inner world was encompassed by this book series. And everyone knew I was really into it, but like it was for me. For the longest time, it just felt like it was for me. And now a lot of other people are starting to participate in this, fictional world, and it's kind of fun. A little annoying sometimes because some people make up the strangest theories, and I'm like, how did you get that from this? But at other times, I'm delighted. I'm glad to see it. And it's not just like a certain kind of people. It seems like many different kinds of people are getting into this, world and reading the books and talking about the books. And I like seeing the different perspectives, whether it be, gendered or race-based, because there was a lot of suggestion that Anne Rice was a racist, which I kind of was like, I can kind of see why you might say that, but I don't think so. And I'm seeing a lot of people of color talking about the books and how she represented certain people in it, and I'm glad to see people are talking about that.
Actually, she might be a speciesist, meaning that she hates humans and loves only the undead.
Well, I will say, what's his face? I can't remember the director who did the Queen of the Damned movie.
Yeah.
She was delighted that he casted Aaliyah as Akasha.
Yes.
Despite the fact that if you read the books, Akasha is clearly Caucasian. She was delighted
Middle Eastern, isn't she? She came from like the Tigris Euphrates area.
Kind of like,
well,
Egyptian,
there was this old school belief that the ancient Egyptians were white, and you can see it reflected in certain things, and it's kind of funny. It's kind of hilarious. But and Anne unfortunately is a product of that thinking. And she was delighted to have Aaliyah casted as Akasha. And so it kind of makes it seem like, okay, the way they casted the show now is definitely in the taste of Anne Rice. She would have been cool with it. She wouldn't have cared. She would have liked Jacob Anderson as Louis, regardless of how he was described in the books. She would have been cool with it. And so it makes it feel more universal, I think. And so I think that's what delights me most about it right now.
Good. So,
all right. So we should move on to storyline 01, as Billie has placed it here in our notes, saying Louis and Lestat's reconciliation. So the little synopsis of that would be Louis and Lestat, now reunited in Montreal, spend much of the episode rebuilding trust, discussing their past, confronting old wounds, and exploring the possibility of a future together. Their relationship drives the emotional core of the episode, which I do believe. But there's a lot of hills and valleys that they go through, especially towards the end.
Yes, and it's Immortals. I have a feeling they replay these roles over and over again.
Well,
They're
they have
always going to be going
centuries.
through hills and valleys. They have centuries to spend together
Well,
or apart.
when you're alive for a long time, it's kind of inevitable that you'll do the same things you've done before, whether you've grown from them or not. I think it's vampire lives are cyclical, you know. Sometimes they're all about one thing, and like Lestat talks about, you know, translating birdsong into music for a decade, you know.
Yeah.
So they just kind of go through phases.
I wish I had a decade to just fuck around and do something that is
Yeah,
like
exactly.
completely
be
a
a
big hobby that
Highlander.
nobody else is going to care about.
I would master Mandarin or something. Like that's what I would do.
I would master like several languages at least.
I like how the first thing we see is Lestat reaching up to grab his phone out of the coffin
Oh,
to check
yeah.
his like ranking on Billboard.
And he gets
and his
mad.
Oh god, his
Yeah.
ratings are getting he's getting trashed. The band's getting trashed.
Of course they are.
Wasn't he like 31 or something like that?
On the song was
On the Billboard
well, at least
charts.
it cracked the Billboard 100.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
I can't
That is
remember
very
which
true.
song it was, but yeah, one of them was at least on the Billboard 100.
I just remember that he was on top or over a band called Play-Doh, and I was like, that's a weird name.
Was it with a T or D?
Right.
Plato, like in Plato.
I also love that he's getting upset with Louis because Louis doesn't want to sleep in his very expensive coffin that he bought him just for him.
Yeah, Louis actually mentions that he goes, I don't really sleep in coffins much these days.
Laura, do you remember what the brand of the coffin was? It started with an H.
I didn't. If I had gotten my more in-depth notes, I might have remembered, but I didn't.
I'll have to watch it again and maybe look up the coffin to see what its going price is, because if it was that significant that he had to make a comment about it.
It's like the coffin they had in Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein with the the glass mask. I don't know. I'm theorizing, but that was a pretty fancy coffin. And it's been like 2 years now because it's Halloween again. 2 years to the day that the Vampire Lestat band was founded, and I love that Lestat is getting dressed to go trick or treating. Well, not really. I'm sure he's disguising himself because he's supposed to be dead. So he dresses up as the Grim Reaper and walks around the streets with Louis.
You know what I find interesting is Lestat's fascination with Alex. Because he imparts some wisdom on him when he sees him. He goes, "Oh, you're an early riser just like me. That's very rare. That means you can, take care of business early before it gets too crowded with the vampires." Oh, thank you, Mark. What did he say? It is Haston's. Yeah, it's a luxury mattress maker brand. Oh, okay. So he basically
who also make coffins.
Well, maybe it's the coffin is like custom built with the Haston's like lining or plush interior or whatever.
Yeah, I just did a quick search on that, and I thought that would be cool to have in the system.
How much do they go for? How much would that
Haston's coffin?
Hold on.
Anyhow,
would you purchase it, listeners?
Right. Well, I always said if I lived alone, I'd probably, instead of getting a bed, just get a coffin.
Well, would you? All right. Would you do what Kristen Ritter and Alicia Silverstone did in that comedic vampire show?
Oh yeah,
and have like headphones or speakers and deck it out with posters.
That would be kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's kind of like a lay down locker,
Yeah,
that's really what Claudia should have done. She should have had her like favorite band poster up on the top, the roof of her.
Well, in her case, back in that day, would be plays and theater.
Right.
She'd
have a playbill for like Macbeth or something like that.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe like who is it? The big band guy, Glenn.
Duke
Glenn
Ellington?
something, or maybe something like that. A little Satchmo or something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
that'd be funny. What else? Oh, they go to that vampire bar.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
yeah, that's really a restaurant. That's one of the restaurants that Louis owns.
Hmm.
He takes
Yes.
Louis to his restaurant, and everyone there is obviously a vampire because when they walk in, it's like they're royalty. Everyone claps,
Hmm.
and that's where they meet Daniel. And I don't know if that's going to be part of one of our other storylines, but yeah, they go there, and then they're. Do we want to talk? I guess can we talk about the rehearsal concert?
We can. It's not part
Yeah.
of any of the storylines, so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, but it was so good because this is where, well, when they're at the restaurant, they talk to Daniel. Daniel's trying to just come up with some sort of BS wrap up for his documentary. So
Hmm.
I love that they don't tell him what they say to each other in New Orleans
Hmm.
because that's even Roland Jones doesn't even know what they said. He told the actors to say whatever they feel like to each other, and Sam and Jacob have kept that as a surprise and a secret to
Oh,
themselves and not told anyone.
that's pretty
So
cool.
yeah,
So they
it's like a
improvised the
special
scene.
secret.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then he asks Louis if he's met Gabriella yet, which he says he hasn't, and he doesn't reveal anything. And then they go to the concert, the rehearsal concert,
Yep.
and he sees Gabriella, and obviously he just thinks Gabriella is kind of Lestat's new paramour slash manager slash handler,
Yeah.
whatever.
Hmm.
And doesn't really know who she is. But I just love, for one, I love the song. And I love that that's the first time we get to see the band all as vampires now. So they're acting a little more vampiric, especially Tough Cookie, who's
Hmm.
being 100% live wire as she is.
Yeah.
And then we see Lestat just being playful because they're rehearsing Dancing with Myself at first, the Billy Idol cover. And he's like pirouetting in the air. Because like
And
he's
he's
so
changing the
happy.
lyrics of the song too at times to fit
Uh-huh.
his mood. So
Yes,
Hmm.
fit his current lifestyle. And you could just tell he's so happy now because he's pirouetting in the air. He's
hmm
having such a great time. And then they sing "Brutal Love," which is so wonderful. And you know
yeah.
it's written for Louis, and you know he's singing it right to Louis. And not Claudia, Gabriella
Gabrielle.
just looks over and she's staring at him the entire time because she knows, like, at first she just thought, yeah, Louis, he's just kind of this fling that Lestat had, another one of his lovers.
Yep.
And then she realizes, no, Lestat loves Louis, like, probably loves Louis more than he loves her. And
He's
hmm
then
the
her,
he's the love of his immortality, of his immortal life.
mhm. Yeah. And so she feels her control over Lestat is being challenged because she
Mm.
doesn't really care if Lestat loves her or not, but she definitely likes to have control over him. And
Yes.
that love was her control over him. And she definitely realizes that Louis is a threat to that control. And I love how she tells him, "You shouldn't come to this concert. There's going to be a lot of people there who love you, but also a lot of people who have beef with you." And I love how she says, "You can stand next to me. I'll protect you."
I love it. So, are we ready to talk about the seance?
Yes.
Or rather, the summoning, because it's a specific kind of ritual, and I don't want to,
Well, if we're still
bastardize.
talking about Louis and Lestat, can we talk real quick about the reveal, or are we gonna talk about that later?
The
The reveal
ending
that Daniel
reveal.
exposes.
Oh, let's
Oh.
let's talk about that later
Yeah.
because it's part of one of the my quotes and dropes and
Okay.
my quotes, notes, and needle dropes.
Mhm.
So, we can talk about that later.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
All right. So, what I meant to say was the not the seance, but the spirit summoning of Claudia, because again, it was this very specific ritual, and I don't want to say anything untoward about why I don't even know if it's an accurate representation of that spirituality, so I can't really, But regardless,
It gave me reminding of what they did with the master illusionist himself, Houdini.
Houdini.
And he was all about his mother and casting a seance and everything else. They had something similar. It gave me that feel of every time I read something regarding that seance
well,
about it and how truths came out within it and everything else. And I thought this was very deep diving and very brutal from her perspective on them.
The ritual almost matches the ritual that's in the book, but
Oh,
they changed a few things and made it actual voodoo elements for the ritual,
okay.
Hmm.
which is why I was trying to carefully not say anything,
Yeah.
insulting, because it's a real spirituality, a real religion, and I'm not going to insult somebody's religion. But
Yeah.
the point of the ritual, though, was to summon Claudia, because
Mhm.
clearly Louis and Lestat have some unfinished business with that and have some deep guilt, and they want to see if Claudia's okay. But unfortunately, we end up finding out that she's not okay. In fact, she's fucking pissed off.
Hmm.
She's furious. And she had a lot to say to both Louis and Lestat. Now, this is where my TikTok dives have made this particularly interesting. I'm going to paraphrase the whole TikTok video because I can't exactly remember what was said, but this TikTok user accuses Louis of being misogynistic. And the reason is because during this whole summoning of Claudia business, he cares more about how he feels about what happened during the process or during the trial and execution. He hears Claudia's rancor and he says, "But what about all the things I did for you?"
Hmm.
And Claudia brings up a very important thing, which I wrote down in a quote. Well, quickly, I'm going to read the synopsis really fast and then we'll get into it. So, synopsis for this storyline, also named The Painful Truths of the Past. Louis and Lestat meet with individuals connected to their history and participate in events that force them to confront lingering guilt and trauma, particularly regarding Claudia. Louis also discovers one of Lestat's deepest secrets, which we can talk about after the Claudia thing. This storyline provides this episode's major emotional revelations. And then one of the quotes that I kind of lingered on was when Claudia said, "That's what I want to be. Car, feel for your sad pity. Listen to your sad stories." And it kind of makes it obvious that Louis was kind of using Claudia, but then we end up finding out, at least what she relates to us, is that Claudia was actually using Louis.
Hmm.
And she even makes it quite clear that she preferred Lestat over Louis.
Yep.
That she even contemplated killing Louis instead.
Hmm.
Because I think, and we talked about this, I think, in the last episode, or not Louis, but Lestat and Claudia had a lot in common, and they were cut from the
Yes.
same cloth. And I think they understood each other,
Hmm.
which is why they fought.
Yep. And I know people like that. I know
Right.
my husband and daughter, older daughter, almost exactly alike, almost cut from the same cloth. Sometimes they can get along so well, and sometimes they go at each other like mad pit bulls.
hmm That's me and my dad. We're very similar creatures, and we can fight. Well, we haven't done it in years, but when I was a teen, man, we fought viciously with each other. And so it's definitely that kind of dynamic between Claudia and Lestat. But what's interesting is the argument from this TikTok was that Lestat was pro-woman, but we already know that. Lestat was pro-woman because when Claudia turned her wrath towards him, he said, "Let me have it." He didn't make any
Hmm.
excuses. He didn't make any defenses. He didn't try to undermine or minimize. He said, "Just let me have it. Whatever anger you have for me, give it to me." And that's when he ends up finding out that she was likely going to kill Louis instead of Lestat.
Hmm.
But what made this really sad was they woke this poor girl up, pulled her out of Tartarus, and
Yeah.
they didn't even have the consideration to wake her lover.
Yep.
Hmm.
And that was another aspect of that TikTok that talked about how Louis was a misogynist because he did not care about her so as far as not to even reunite her with her lover. He didn't care that she was trying to move on. He didn't care that she felt like she's being abandoned, which he was. He was abandoning her. And he even was going to go as far as to try to have Armand and Claudia at the same time. He did not care. Louis did not care about Claudia. He's guilty about what happened. He feels remorse about what happened. But I think in truth, at the very end of it, Louis didn't care about Claudia as much as he claims to have cared about Claudia. And so
I don't know. Oh, finish what you're saying.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say, and so to hear that she contemplated killing Louis was kind of like that makes sense because I think she picked up on that too.
Yeah. Oh, one of the reasons she attached herself to Louis and killed Lestat instead is because she knew she could never bend Lestat to her will, and
Right.
she knew that Louis was more pliable, and so he was much easier to manipulate than Lestat.
He was the
Right.
weaker of the both, and she states something down due to their roots of because of slavery and the bones on her. It's etched into them and how they are. But he was just an easy target. But she
Right.
had sympathy for him, hence why she didn't try to really kill him
Right.
at that point as well.
I don't even know if she had sympathy for him. Claudia is cold. She is
She
ice cold.
is.
She's just like her father Lestat. They can be extremely cruel when they need to be.
And
And I
bratty.
feel like,
And bratty,
yes,
yeah.
and bratty.
Well,
and
think about
I
it
think
too. That what she chants at the end because she felt denied her lover and yelling out Madeline, Madeline,
Right. Right.
and constantly wanting that. And she goes, I look for her. She's not here. I'm in the darkness, always looking for her. She's not here. That's a good question of where would Madeline be at this point?
Mhm.
Did
Right.
she ascend?
or even where was Claudia? We don't
Yeah.
know. They just pulled her from the ether. She never states where she was. She was I think she says it's kind of a dark place or something like that, but
Yep.
she never says exactly where she is. But for one, hail Delaney
Haley.
Hales for doing such an incredible job coming back as
Yes.
Claudia. It was like cameo par excellence because she did such an incredible job showing Claudia's rage.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I don't know about calling Louis misogynistic because he treated her like that. I just think what Louis does is that he takes everyone else's issues and sorrows and makes it into his own victimhood. Like
Yeah.
everything that
Yeah.
happens bad to Lestat, everything bad that happens to Armand, everything bad that happens to Claudia, he acts like, oh, this is breaking my heart. This is such a sad thing for me
Right.
because this is how this is traumatizing me. I
Right.
actually know people like that who you think they're real good guys. They're real sweet. They act really sympathetic or empathetic to people, but then they kind of turn it around and make it feel like, oh, your pain is my trauma. And I'm going to tell you all about my trauma that I've had from losing my daughter, Claudia, from
Right.
being abused by my husband, Lestat, from being lied to by my boyfriend, Armand. This is all my trauma. And yeah, I just think that is how Louis is.
I will find the TikTok somehow, and maybe in the next episode, we can talk briefly about it because I know the way this person broke it down, it made a lot of sense. I'm roughly paraphrasing, like badly paraphrasing the TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll find it and I'll show it to you, and you can see what I'm talking about. But yes, what you said is absolutely on the nose. He definitely likes to absorb other people's pain and make it his own, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what season one was really all about. Well, season one and two were really all about was him doing that. And I think Daniel Malloy was kind of like calling bullshit
Yeah.
the whole
And I
time.
do think he loved Claudia in his way, but same way Gabriella might love Lestat. Like
Right.
you love them enough to make them part of your life and like involve them, but do you love them enough to want to like leave this toxic coven and take them away from
Right.
what you know is bad for them, or just anything? Is like he just didn't love her enough. And also I think she was always a walking, talking embodiment of his guilt because he made her out of guilt
It was her.
for what
It
he
was
did in
his scapegoat.
Storytown.
She was
Mhm.
his scapegoat for most of a lot of things.
Right.
Do you think there was some sort of comparison there between how Claudia was with Lestat and Louis, how Armand, well, I should say Daniel is, now that we see some things in this episode, Daniel is with Armand and possibly Lestat and Louis at the same time because of the outcome that what happens at the end, because of what Armand talks to Daniel about at certain points, about certain things that he did not know about Lestat and Louis.
Probably. I mean, Anne said that vampirism in itself is slavery. usually when a maker creates its progeny, they enter in a bond or in a pact or a bond that is very slave-like. The progeny becomes the slave of the maker, and there's always some kind of violence where the progeny leaves their maker. There has to be there's violence involved.
And
So
manipulation.
Right. I think by its very nature, vampiric bonds are about domination and subservience, and there's always some kind of manipulation involved. And so, yeah, I could see that. And I think Armand and Daniel's relationship is very complicated because I think, from what if I remember from the early episodes, Armand says he can help Daniel walk into the sun or something like that.
Yes.
Oh no, wait, hold on. Backtracking.
Okay.
Daniel's tan. I don't think he meant like him dying. I think he meant him being able to see sunlight. Maybe I misunderstood that comment.
He said he would help him to walk in the sun again.
But then at the very end of the episode, we get that, obviously spoilers, everybody. We're going to talk about it. Lestat and Louis both state at the very end of Daniel's video. Did you notice that was done in the daylight?
I thought when I heard walk in the sun, I thought like suicide. That's why I was like, wait a minute. I think I misunderstood that comment.
Well, we know that Armand is a daywalker because he was standing in season 1 in the sunlight. He wasn't directly in it, but he was up and he was standing near the sun. And then Salamander, he even brings it up on the tour bus. And yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I wonder if that's
I just wanted to go quickly back to what you said, Billie, about slavery, vampirism being slavery, because that's really interesting. Because in season 1, when Louis and Lestat are having one of their fights over the guy that Louis killed, he said, "You keep saying fledgling a lot. Sounds an awful lot like slave."
Oh yeah, that's right. He did say that.
Wow.
Yeah,
that is true.
As soon as you said that, I'm like, I remembered that line.
Well, maybe that was intentional then.
Hopefully.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, real quick, wait. So Armand's unique ability is to walk in the sun or walk in sunlight.
At least on the show, it seems like it is.
It is.
I didn't even notice that.
It was at the time when you saw daylight coming into the room, and
he was praying.
He was praying, and you could see the sun on him. He was
facing towards Mecca, so we thought maybe he was Muslim.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Wait a minute. How did it take me 3 seasons to realize this? And then that's why Daniel can stand outside in the sunlight, because he's Armand's fledgling.
Blood.
Well, is this just like a random power development that Armand got, or
it's yet to be explained, and I hope that they explain it in the next season, which I meant to say we need to mention at the top of the show that we're getting a season 4.
Oh yeah, Queen of the Damned. Yeah, Queen of the Damned. We don't know what
it's called yet, do we? It's not.
No, it's going to be called Queen of the Damned.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We don't know when it's coming out though. Probably in 2 years, but
and there's a great teaser out there if you want to look
change
for
it.
Right.
Or we can put it in the show notes too. But there's a little teaser for it that they released at Comic-Con.
Yeah,
right.
San Diego Comic-Con is notorious, which I'm so glad because I got to watch that last weekend.
I think we're going to get stuff about the twins in the next season.
So. I really hope they don't leave them out again.
Well, she mentions it in the soliloquy, which I wrote a meditation on. She mentions it in the soliloquy. And so I think the twins are going to be in the next season. And I think we're going to see Amel too. So
that should be interesting.
Right.
But while we're still on the seance, I have to give it up for the actress who did Merrick, Sarah Aful. I thought she did a great job. I loved that entire thing. And the thing that I loved about this ceremony more than anything, like Billie, you and I reluctantly watched 2 seasons of Mayfair Witches. That dreaded show.
Yes.
And it was just everything they did in that was so corny. Everything was so corny and looked like a B movie. Like when, I'm sorry if you people like the show, we did not like it.
We hated it.
Like Rowan would walk around with her hand out like it's a divining rod or something. Like every cheesy, corny witch type thing they could pull from pop culture, they put in there. And it was so goofy.
Yeah.
But this seance, I guess not seance, but ceremony was so amazing. Like she uses like I guess you're going to compare it to the book, but I love how she uses the elements of Catholicism and the elements of Udon, and
Mhm.
she like calls up Claudia, and it's not made to be cheesy at all. Like she's just sitting there having a discussion, and all of a sudden, like she bangs her head on the table, and Claudia has taken over. She did such a great job, like acting like she was possessed by the spirit of Claudia.
Mm.
I loved that. Like there were the tropey elements of that kind of thing, but it was not played to be cheesy, and it wasn't like the ghost of Claudia was hovering or transparent or any of the weird kind of tropey tricks they use to make something seem spooky. It's
Mhm.
just like she shows up out of nowhere and she's in the yellow dress and it's charred and her skin is smoky, and it gave me chills. It was so good. I loved the way they did it, and I love that they didn't make it cheesy. They just made it straightforward, but it still seems so spooky. And when she breaks that circle and you think she's gone, and then you hear the ping of the piano. Oh my God, that gave me chills too, because she was still there.
So I saw your note about the corn starch circle. What
Mhm.
my understanding as a witch bitch, my understanding is that when you cast a circle, it's usually with salt, but in other spiritualities and traditions, it's sometimes something different. Cornstarch in this instance, the ring, the circle is supposed to contain the spirit,
Mhm.
and it's supposed to make the spirit susceptible to the will of the caster, the summoner. So when Claudia breaks the circle, she's no longer under the influence of Merrick. She's doing her own
Mhm.
thing, which means that she manifested so powerfully that she was able to leave the confines of the circle.
Yes.
That's why, that's what that means, and that's why it was significant, because that means that
Mhm.
her rage is so vivid, so powerful that it makes her no unsuccess. She's able to manifest in the physical world on her own.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
what
It
that's
gives
saying.
her physical presence.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
And then also, when she initially possesses Merrick, Merrick's eyes turn into Claudia's eyes, and I loved that
Mm.
part
I
so
didn't even
much.
notice that.
Yeah,
Yep.
her eyes start to glow amber, and it was like, oh, Claudia's here.
Stained glass eyes, everybody, just like
Right,
how she mentions within the episode.
right.
And I
Yep.
just love that they brought up Merrick Mayfair, because she is nowhere in the Mayfair Witches chronic. The stories of the Mayfair Witches. Her story only exists in the Vampire Chronicles, even though
Right.
she is from a kind of like a black sheep branch of the Mayfairs.
Yep.
She
That's what I
is
heard.
one of Julian's bastard grandchildren. If you've read the books, either the Mayfair Witches or the Vampire Chronicles, but I love it because I like that I would like her to get more work, so maybe she could end up on the Mayfair Witches, which I'd kind of feel sad about because
Yes.
I'd rather she just stay in this series. But
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of like that her character is very interesting, and she's only in the Vampire Chronicles.
Right.
But also, she was a raging drunk in the books, which I would have
She
liked
was.
to see.
And she seduces David. She just seduces David, and then eventually, I can't remember who it is, but somebody turns her into a vampire.
Mhm. She seduces Louis with a love spell.
Right. Which also, to your point, if
I hope they aren't going to put these in future episodes, but if they are, we're sorry, we're spoiling some of it.
we are. But how they did the ritual in this episode, that's how they should have done magic in the Mayfair series. Like not charmed, Harry Potter shit. It should have been actual rituals. Actual, because that's really what magic is. It's all rituals and rites. And
Although
so,
Anne's witches are not very ritualistic. They're more like psychics.
yes, they're just very powerful psychics, but people just give them the name witch. And same thing with the redhead twins. They're not witches, they're powerful psychics. So,
But
but
in that
that's
time period, they didn't have that word for it. They had the word witch, so
Yeah.
it made sense.
right. And that is beside the point. Well, another part of this storyline was the revealing of Lestat's secret. And it is probably the funniest part of the whole episode.
It was the funniest and most heartbreaking part for me.
Yes. Well, because it's like, and we had this conversation on the episode where Lestat talks about the incest. And we got
Mhm.
into a deep detail about like, well, they're vampires. The rules don't really apply to them. Well, I don't think that, I think this episode reveals that the vampires don't really see it that way. At least not all of them. Because when Louis finds out that Lestat has been sleeping with his own mother, Louis does not take it very well.
No, he doesn't. He acts like a little bitch about it too. It's like he's offended or upset because he chose his own mother over Louis at that point.
Well, I would think if it's not something that you're normally used to, I mean, if my best friend said they were in like a 200-year incestuous relationship with their parent, I would probably freak out too for a bit. But like, I think we realize here that Lestat's not good with it either. Like he was being very flippant about it a lot of times and just saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're vampires. That's what we do." But you can tell in this episode, he has a lot of trauma around it, and that it's nothing that he really ever wanted. But
Mhm.
it was probably the only way he felt he could get Gabriella's love, and like they see it because God, I can never say Louis' boyfriend's name. Lemuel.
Lemuel, yeah.
Mm.
Yes, sends him the link and he said, "Have you seen this yet?" And he clicks into it and oh, I love Daniel, but sometimes he's a real asshole. And he's like, "This is your boy, Daniel Malloy." And like he's some young YouTuber or something.
Mhm.
And he reveals it on there with a sex tape that he got, maybe even Alex filmed of Lestat with his mother,
Yeah.
and then reveals that this is his mother. And we see, of course, him and Armand standing in the sunlight as they're filming this. And poor Lestat, you were talking about this, Billy, his reaction to it.
Oh yeah, he gets so stressed out he starts to vomit blood.
Yep.
And it's like dramatic the way he's doing it, and honestly it's relatable because whenever I'm stressed out, that's basically what I want to do is just start throwing up. But I was just thinking of something when you were talking about how Lestat was reacting to Louis' disdain for what was going on. Lestat is a victim of grooming.
Mhm.
And like obviously that was obvious to
From
begin
his
with,
own
but like
father and from who created him.
Magnus,
Maris.
right? He's a complete and utter victim of grooming. Like almost every, I guess you can say, quote unquote, superior in his life has at one point or another groomed him in some way.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
Akasha will also be one of those people who grooms him. Because if you think about it, every action he's done has been at the behest of someone who had something over him.
Mhm.
Mhm. I think it's always good to define grooming and mentorship because there is mentorship which is good and positive, and it's someone just trying to guide someone in their decisions towards what they feel would be good for them. Like you don't want to actually just push someone and say you're going to be a lawyer and you're going to take all these classes, but you could at least guide them in some way. And then
Mhm.
grooming is obviously the really dark side, very bad part of it, which a lot of people say that Gabriella is grooming Lasat, and I believe, of course, she is in a way. She's not mentoring him at the beginning when she's trying to get him to leave our Auvergne. Like she's trying to push him to leave here and talking about how everyone's cabbages and he's better than this. He needs to leave. And I wouldn't say that's mentoring or grooming. She's trying to, I guess, give him tough love there to make him leave. But she is obviously grooming him when she's inappropriately touching him after the wolf fight. And I don't know, and I can't say for sure because we never see any scenes before that when he's younger
Mhm.
of like physical grooming with him. So I hear a lot of people say online that she was physically grooming him. At least as the show presents it, we haven't seen that, but it could have happened. We just don't know for sure. And then obviously, once they become vampires, they get into a more physical relationship. But yeah, I think it's important. And maybe, I mean, Magnus, I don't, it's hard to say how Magnus on the show groomed him, except that he really pushed him and tried to convince him that this vampire life was what he needed and wanted, which Lestat said over and over again was not what he wanted.
I
Well,
honestly think with her towards Lestat and from what we had seen from the past until now, would be more forceful inspiration for Lestat to become what he is. And on top of that, you were talking about the grooming. Lestat could be perceived as half and half, as grooming as well as leading or inspiring his personal coven, which is his own band at certain points, because obviously they get turned just the same.
Well, I'm glad you made the distinction, Laura, but my reaction or my understanding of it came mostly from his reaction to Louis' disdain. He was like, why are you making this a big deal? It's not a big deal, and it's like that's like textbook something someone who's been groomed would say. And because grooming comes through a series of conditioning, right? So when someone points out, hey, what you're doing is actually abnormal and actually harmful, and then that other person doesn't understand because it's so normal for them, that is the clear indicator. Now, to sit here and try to quantify each time he's been groomed, that would be a much longer podcast.
Yes. No, he was definitely groomed by Gabriella later on and also manipulated by her love and everything.
Right.
Like, I don't excuse her from any of that. I just don't know like when like the inappropriate part of it started, but he's definitely been traumatized by all the stuff that Gabriella has done to him after, like in his entire life, but also everything with their sexual relationship as well.
Right. But yes, Louis doesn't take it well, and Lestat, he starts to throw up blood. And then they go to a bar and they drink some pints.
I love the street scene though, when they're on the street.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
And they're yelling at each other, and he's telling Louis, like, you're throwing stones at me, and you're this person who's hired someone who looks like Claudia and someone who's looked like Madeline to play these parts. And it's like, throwing stones at people in glass houses.
Right,
Louis.
exactly.
And I love that they actually, in the moment, they are upset and angry with each other, but this time they actually come together much quicker. And the point where Lestat is just breaking down, and oh my God, Sam Reed just broke my heart when he was having Louis hold him, and his face looked so broken and upset. And then Louis comforted him. I was like, oh, my little Lestat heart was so filled. It was so sweet. I just loved that scene so much, and I just had to call it out because that was one of my favorite scenes. And there were lots, but one of my favorite scenes in this whole episode.
I love seeing my parents back together. But yes, they go to a bar and they're drinking pints, and Lestat is putting drops of his blood in the beer so they can drink it. Yep. And I thought that was clever. I love how they kind of do little things to make the vampires blend in a little bit more with the humans, like the Gatorade and the urine thing, so that way, and the fact that they pee, which is like the funniest thing to me, because their bodies don't do that in the books. Their bodies don't, they don't pee, they don't, go to the bathroom otherwise.
Vomit.
They don't, they don't do that.
Sweat and cry.
And they cry, yeah.
Right. But none of that other stuff they don't do. So in this one, though, they've added those elements, which I actually like. I really like that stuff.
Do they poop? Can we get them the little kid book that says everybody poops?
And it's Lestat on a toilet.
With a squatty potty.
That'd be so funny. But that concludes the storyline number 2.
Okay.
And storyline number 3 is Daniel, Armand, and the Concert Conspiracy. Running beneath the reunion story is a suspense plot involving Daniel, Malloy, Armand, and the approaching Montreal concert, the gathering of thousands of vampires, fears of the Great Conversion, and Daniel's hidden loyalties build toward the shocking betrayal that closes the episode. Dun, dun, dun!
I almost kept last episode's title because it was like the Gremlin, Armand, and Daniel. And I was like, it's literally the same. This title would fit for this as well, because they're both being gremlins.
Yes, they are. Just sneaking around with their little machetes, or I guess we find out it's a mini spoiler, but I love that they use a sickle to decapitate Louis and Lestat, because Lestat's walking around with a scythe, being the Grim Reaper, and then they take a sickle, another harvesting tool, to cut his head off.
My only beef with this part, though, is that after all that happens with Claudia, they just go to a bench in a park and just sit down. It's just kind of go, well, that sucked. Yeah, it did suck. Like, that's it.
It made me think of the Anchorman meme that said, well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is true. I don't know. I just feel like all that whole thing with Claudia, and they're just going to be like, well, just another day. And it's just like, oh, okay.
I almost thought that was humorous because we've been through the trauma of this like very intense scene.
Yeah.
And then we just get Louis and Lestat going, wow, well, I guess she spoke her mind.
Right. Or that, oh no, my mind goes to that meme from Loki where he goes, yes, very sad. Anyway.
So many memes, so many memes.
So many, I know.
Yeah,
chronically online.
So it's just a small scene, but they're just sitting there and they're so sweet and they're almost touch fingers. And they talk about living in the desert, and Louise asking if there's birds in the desert, and their fingers almost touch. It's a real Bridgerton moment.
Mom and Dad
and
getting
then
back
he
together.
just looks across the street or across the park, and Alex is standing there in the weirdest, creepiest vampire, like Dracula mask, and lifts it up and just looks at them. And then he goes, Alex? And we just hear,
and he's
double beheading.
Right.
Who ends a penultimate episode with a double beheading of their main cast?
This
show.
Remember last episode, I thought this episode was the last episode and they were leaving it on it. I was gonna throw up. I was gonna throw up blood just like Lestat over this, because I was like, you're not gonna make me wait 2 years.
How dare you? How dare you?
I would have been furious. Oh my goodness.
What are the odds they pick up their heads and put them back on? And you're like, anybody got duct tape?
Oh god, I'm getting heavy Reanimator vibes of Lestat walking around with his head in a like aluminum tray.
I have to go on concert like this.
Or like idle
Billie,
hands.
have you seen Reanimator?
It's been a long time.
It is a sick movie, and one of my teachers when I was going to school in New York was one of the co-writers of that movie. And I always thought it was hilarious because he was the sweetest, funniest little Jewish man. And like, you wrote that sick ass script. You're crazy.
You'd be surprised, Lara. I've met a few of those directors and producers in my life.
Did you want to move on to the quotes, notes, and needle tropes?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Yeah. Mark, did you have any?
Let me see. Quotes. Oh my god. Louis, this is a quote from Louis to Lestat, obviously, because him finding out about Gabriella. Are you hitting the same vagina you spent first 9 months of your mortal life in?
Oh my god.
So that was
I'm glad you brought that up because I thought about that one too. And then, of course, Lestat has to say, well, the anatomy, it's actually the uterus and the cervix. Thank you for that anatomy discussion, Lestat.
Louis on Lestat's deflection saying, oh, this is all-time Armand level deception.
Oh, man.
That was hurtful.
Yes, it was.
And Lestat to Louis, this will be the last one. We are natural beings, and this is the half-human soul that you conveniently whip out whenever you want to win an argument.
Mm-hmm.
He had him there. He had him there.
That is Louis.
So.
He always acts like he's the considerate one. I mean, I love Louis. I love him. But he can be a little manipulative by being so passive-aggressive.
And judgy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a wanker.
Like his mother.
Right. Right.
The only thing I should talk about when it comes to needle drops, you've already mentioned them both, Lara. Brutal Love, an emotional or dramatic ballad written by series composer Daniel Hart and performed by Sam Reed as Lestat d'Alencourt for Louis. So that was a lovely song, obviously. we get a version of the rehearsal of Dancing with Myself, a fictional band cover version of the classic Billy Idol punk track. So I'm glad that we got something like that, because I was never thinking that we would get any real covers of anything within this show. For those listeners that really want to follow this, obviously Spotify has their own playlist. It's the Vampire Lestat playlist on Spotify, and it's literally his, even though he's a fictitious character, but it's all the music that's come out so far within the season of the Vampire Lestat. I'm assuming we're going to get more as time goes by. I'm wondering where the track listing is. So if you listeners have listened to it, let us know how many total tracks we have so far in the season. It'd be great.
I think if you go on to
reveal.
Apple Music, they have the album The Failures.
And they have it split up. They have the album split up by episode. So there's one entitled Toronto, one entitled Detroit, The Devil's Road, etc., etc.
Awesome. Cool. That's all I got.
Yeah. And I just mentioned Brutal Love earlier. The only thing about that was of note is that the song was 100% about Louis. You know it, of course. And when they were in their little divorce court meeting, Lestat said, "These songs are not about you." But obviously in the car, he admits to Louis, most of them are pretty much about you. I love that. And then I just loved how we first get introduced to the ghost of Claudia when she slams Merrick's head on the table and says, "Why you yanking on me, you dumb bitch?" That was like, I'm like, "Oh, it's Claudia." That was all I had. Oh, wait, we mentioned she breaks the cornstarch circle. So is she in the world right now? Is her ghost like going to haunt our mortal world looking for Madeline?
Ooh, that'd be a neat twist in the next
or
season.
Does she take on the version of herself that Louis was so enthralled with of her lookalike?
Ooh, Tale of the Body Thief.
Interesting. I kind of really want this to be the end of Claudia's story.
Yeah.
I thought it was an excellent way to go out, and I think it would be a little bit too much overkill if they bring her back. I mean, I trust these writers, so they may do it really creatively, but I would be okay if this was the last time we saw Claudia.
I agree.
But I like Delaney.
Well, she's going to be in Mike Flanagan's new series, Carrie.
Yes.
So you can look forward to seeing her there.
Yeah, and that's actually an episodic show too, everybody. So maybe that's something we might delve into at that time when it does come out.
I do like Carrie. All right. So for mine, I kind of thought it was funny that Louis knew what Degrassi is when he was talking about Drake. I was like, man, you did not watch Degrassi. And then also, it is mentioned that Lestat and Cortland Mayfair used to play cards together, which I thought was very nice.
Yes, I found the conversation of who he surrounded himself during that time was hilarious.
And then I noticed that during the episode during the beginning when they're walking towards the vampire bar, you can see people dressed up as Lestat for Halloween.
I'm gonna have to go back and see that because I did not catch that.
A lot of people with long blonde hair and silken shirts walking around.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then Louis says to Lestat, "Why are you being so nice? I don't like it." And then
that was the rom-com portion of the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Daniel Malloy, when he sees him at the vampire bar, refers to him as Taylor and Travis, which I was like, you are so funny. And then his alias is Sheridan Blackwood, which is a reference to Blackwood Farm.
I caught that too.
And then prior to this episode, because my essay about Gabriella was a hit, I was asked to write another essay. Last time we were going to talk about Akasha's soliloquy, but we had that episode the last episode was pretty long, and I didn't want to keep anyone further, so I decided to wait until this episode to share the essay I wrote about Akasha's soliloquy, because it's one of my favorite pieces of writing in this whole season. So this one is entitled Akasha, the Queen of the Damned, a meditation on suffering, power, and divine identity. So if you're doing some work or doing dishes or whatever, now's the time where you can kind of space out while I talk, because it's a little long. So Akasha's soliloquy in The Vampire Lestat is one of the most profound and philosophically rich passages in the series. Structured as a stream of questions, fragmented memories, and visionary declarations, the speech traces Akasha's transformation from a seeker of answers into a being who claims the authority to provide them. It explores themes of love, suffering, divine justice, gendered oppression, and the dangerous allure of absolute power. By the conclusion of the monologue, Akasha has shifted from questioning the nature of existence to proclaiming herself the answer to existence's deepest mysteries. The speech opens with an image of maternal tenderness. Quote, "She holds him in the softness of her arms, in her arms that are open, in her arms that are wide." Quote, end quote. These opening lines establish a vision of unconditional love. The repeated reference to open arms suggests safety, acceptance, and permanence, and maybe specifically directly at Lestat, who seems to be her preoccupation at the time. Love is portrayed not merely as an emotion, but as a sacred condition, something enduring and necessary. Akasha emphasizes that these arms, quote, "must always be open," end quote, implying that true love requires continual accessibility and devotion. Yet this comforting image immediately gives way to questions of fate and cosmic design. Quote, "All that was arranged," end quote, she says, before asking, quote, "and who arranged it? Did Amel?" End quote. The speech thus moves from the personal experience of love to the larger question of who governs existence itself. Now, as an aside, Akasha is a pagan. In the novels, she is a full and ardent believer of the Egyptian pantheon and every myth and legend that goes along with that cosmology. In fact, when the witches, the Makari and Maharet, declare there are no gods, just spirits, she gets very, very, very angry. So Akasha has a pious nature, and it's possible that she might view Amel as a god. Amel, the ancient spirit central to Anne Rice's mythology, becomes the focal point of Akasha's inquiry, as I said before. Throughout the soliloquy, she returns repeatedly to the idea that it is Amel, it is always Amel. The phrase can be interpreted as a reverence, accusation, frustration, or resignation. Amel appears to be the explanation behind every mystery. Again, Akasha being a pious individual, a pious being. Yet, that explanation proves unsatisfying. Akasha is not content with simply identifying the source of cosmic order. She wants to understand why that order permits suffering. Her endless repetition of why transforms the soliloquy into a theological interrogation. Like the biblical figure of Job, or the philosophers who wrestle with the problem of evil, she demands to know why pain, injustice, and silence persist in a supposedly ordered universe. The most emotionally powerful aspect of the speech is its focus on a suffering female figure. Akasha repeatedly asks, quote, "Why is she curled on the ground? Why is she curled on the ground? Why must she be kept? Why is her tongue cut out? Why is her death prolonged?" End quote. The identity of this woman remains deliberately ambiguous. She may represent Akasha herself in ancient memory, or all women subjected to oppression throughout history. The image of the severed tongue is particularly significant. Throughout the soliloquy, Akasha is preoccupied with voice, speech, and song. To remove a person's tongue is to deny them the ability to testify, question, or resist. The mutilated woman becomes a symbol of a silent suffering. In this context, Akasha's repeated concern with voice becomes a concern with power. Those who cannot speak are denied agency, while those who those who control speech shape reality itself. This could also be a reference to Mikar and Maharet, whom she personally saw be mutilated and transformed by her own decree. It could be possible that she's reflecting on her own actions or the role she plays in this meaningless suffering that goes on in the world. The speech also contains striking images of memory and trauma. At one point, Akasha abruptly cries, "Stairs! The stairs!" The phrase appears connected with the surrounding lines, yet its emotional intensity suggests the sudden resurfacing of a buried memory. Rather than following a logical argument, the soliloquy operates according to the associative patterns of dreams, visions, and traumatic recollection. Images of mothers, blood, priests, suffering, women, and divine judgment emerge and disappear in rapid succession. This fragmented structure mirrors a conscious attempt to make sense of centuries, perhaps millennia, of accumulated pain. Another important theme is the rejection of religious and patriarchal authority. Akasha asks, quote, "And why does he tell her what God has said?" End quote. The question challenges the legitimacy of intermediaries who claim to speak for divine power. Throughout history, priests, kings, prophets, and religious institutions have often asserted authority by claiming exclusive access to sacred truth. Yet whenever Akasha seeks answers, she receives only condemnation. The word, quote, unworthy echoes repeatedly throughout the speech. Rather than explaining suffering, those in power simply declare her unfit to understand. The repetition creates a sense of oppression and exclusion. Akasha's frustration grows not only from the existence of suffering, but from the refusal of authority figures to justify it. The climax of the soliloquy occurs when Akasha ceases asking questions altogether. For most of the speech, she occupies the position of a seeker. She demands explanations but receives none. Then suddenly the pattern changes. Instead of asking why, she begins making declarations. I am the girl. I am the god. I am the voice. I am the song. I am the night. These statements dissolve the boundaries between victim and ruler, mortal and divine. Akasha identifies herself simultaneously with the suffering girl and the omnipotent deity capable of ending the suffering. The transformation is revolutionary. No longer willing to wait for answers from Amel or from any external authority, she claims authority for herself. The final portion of the speech reveals both the beauty and danger of this transformation. Akasha proclaims, I can answer, I can arrange it, I can say rise, and I can say speak. The image deliberately reverses the earlier suffering. The woman whose tongue was removed can now speak. The figure curled helplessly on the ground can now rise. Akasha imagines herself as a force of liberation and restoration. She becomes a creator capable of correcting the injustices she has witnessed, and unfortunately has also perpetuated. Yet, the triumph is accompanied by a troubling implication. Her repeated declaration, I am the answer, contains the seeds of absolutism. Having concluded that existing authorities are inadequate, Akasha places herself in their position. The same conviction that empowers her also threatens to justify domination over others. If she alone possesses the answer, then disagreement itself may appear illegitimate. The speech therefore marks not only a moment of personal awakening, but also a birth of a potentially dangerous messianic consciousness. Ultimately, Akasha's soliloquy is a meditation on humanity's oldest questions. Why do people suffer? Why are the innocent silenced? Why does divine authority seem absent or indifferent? The speech begins with love, moves through grief and rebellion, and culminates in self-deification. Akasha's final claim that she is both the wounded girl and the god who can save her encapsulates the central tension of the monologue. It is a declaration of empowerment born from suffering, but it also is a warning about what can happen when the desire for justice evolves into the certainty that one alone possesses the right to reshape the world.
Yeah, I love that.
Awesome.
Just because I have awareness of what is in the book, but also I just love how you pulled so much of that from the monologue.
Yeah.
Well, I've been thinking about this monologue since the episode came out, and it's all over TikTok, and everyone's talking about it and talking about what it means and applying it to certain things. And unfortunately, I see a lot of men making some derogatory comments about women in this monologue.
Yeah.
And it's kind of makes the monologue more significant because it's definitely doing what it was meant to do, which is to rally women, essentially. And if anyone has read the books, they know what happens when Akasha comes to full force. And I just love how this monologue is bleeding into the real world.
Yeah.
And it's making the people that it's supposed to intimidate intimidated. And so I've heard it 1,000 times. I have a TikTok that I applied this monologue to, and it's got 5,000 likes so far. And I hear it every day because when I check my comments, it's the first video that pops up. And so I've had a lot of time to think about this monologue. And when someone asks me, well, what are your thoughts on this thing? Just give me an afternoon. And I will write something down.
Yeah.
And especially because it's full of mythical religious language. And that is my specialty. I love not contemporary. I love comparative religion. I love the structures of myth. I love the language of myth. I love how myth is used to direct and encourage society. I also love what it says about society.
Mhm.
I talked about wanting to do the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's Odyssey. I'm a huge Greek mythology fan, and Greek mythology has a chokehold on the West. So um, everything about it fascinates me. And so whoever wrote this must have the same fascination because it's full of all of that. So it wasn't really super hard for me to see the parallels and kind of understand what Akasha was talking about when she was talking. At first, I thought she was making references to Mary, Mother of God, and she was
Mhm.
asserting that divinity is in the realm of the woman, which I personally believe that. I personally believe that God is female. If anyone's curious, I do. I don't think God is masculine in any sense. But when she was kind of in the soliloquy, kind of dissecting that and coming to the conclusion that, well, I'm a goddess. I can rectify all these wrongs. The patriarchal male god is doing nothing. He's silent and indifferent, but I'm here and I have power and I can do all the things. And it was just, I don't know, it's just really fascinating to me. And so when you suggested I make another essay, I was like, bet, give me a second.
It's
Hold
like,
my beer.
hold my
Right.
beer. I'm going to talk.
Right. Give me a
Yeah.
second.
And by the way,
Well, I
Alanis
believe
Morissette is God.
Sheila Akeem, who is playing Akasha next season, has already mentioned online that next season, because we've had 3 seasons of a highly male focused
Yeah.
series, it's going to be a very female focused series, and it's going to express female rage. And I've mentioned, our female characters a lot of times in the show get a lot of
Mhm.
short shrift.
Mhm.
And I did forget about Louise' sister. At least she made it out,
Right.
Louise
Well,
Louise' sister moved to the north and she made it out of the tragedy that surrounds these characters. But a lot of them don't. And a lot of them are pushed under the thumb of their male counterparts. So we will see what kind of havoc Akasha brings next season.
Well, and that was kind of my point of coming to the defense of Gabriella was because people were being really unfair to her. Now, granted, obviously, we just talked about how she groomed Lestat. I'm not
Mhm.
saying Gabriella's perfect, but I think people were giving her a lot of unfair judgment because of the fact that she's female, and how she decided to carry herself in well, not her, but how the writers decided to portray her in the TV show. I agree with you. The female characters in this series kind of get cast to the side a little bit.
Yeah.
Everyone's very focused on the queer romance between Lestat and Louis, which I love as a gay man, but I'm not blind and I don't see that. I do see that they're doing it at the expense of the female characters,
Mm.
and
Yes.
I sometimes say dumb male things because I am fortunately a dumb male, but I'm very sensitive to the plight of women and try my best to elevate and support my sisters as much as I can.
Mhm.
And so I think that's why my essays have been so focused on the female characters because I've noticed the same thing, and I'm
Mhm.
excited to see
Hmm.
the Queen of the Damned if that's the case.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it anyway, but
Yeah.
And Gabriella, she does bad things, but so does Armand, and so does Louis, and so
Right.
does Lestat, and so
Right.
does Daniel. They all do bad things. They're intriguing characters, and that's
Mm.
why we love them so much. We will hate the things they do, and we will not want these to be friends of ours in real life. But as far as characters, they're deeply intriguing and flawed and amusing to watch sometimes,
Right.
even though they do terrible things.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like Akasha is not going to be an exception. She is not going to be a benevolent ruler. She is going to, I assume, do bad things.
Well,
Yeah.
any being who declares himself a god is inevitably going to do something catastrophic. I mean, The Boys was a prime example when Homelander was like, "Oh, well, I'm like Jesus," and then he went to, "Well, maybe I'm Jesus, and maybe I'm
Ugh.
God," and then he did all the awful things that he did. And so,
Yep.
whenever any being declares himself a god, bad things happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Billie, for giving us the essay and thinking deeply about that.
Yeah, thank you very much too. I do have to admit though, a lot of the female leading within the season though would be through Gabriella,
hmm
our lovely lawyer,
Oh,
who we really
Christine.
haven't seen.
Christine,
Yeah, we haven't really seen too much of
Christine
her,
Clare, she's a
but
badass, and I love her.
I love the character. I wanted to see more, as well as we get Gabrielle, not Gabriella,
Delaney.
yeah, Delaney Sales, her character, and
Regina.
Regina, as well as her foreshadowing youth version that Louis was obsessed with.
Mhm.
Anyhow, yeah, I just love it, and I love how they embrace some of that. A lot of it, like you said, Billy, was clouded because everybody wants that gay romantic love between Lestat and Louis, and you know, mom and dad, as I like to call them, are back
Mhm.
together again, and everything, and how they represent. And you want to see that sweet love story, and now we get it at the very end. And you're like, gag me with a spoon. It's like, you know, because it's like, oh, we're supposed to be arguing. Why are you nice to me? Things like that. And then at the very end we get the twist. But we also get the victims, or their own version of victimites, Daniel Malloy as well as
Mhm.
Armand, playing, oh well, we'll show you.
Right.
And then slappy slap with a little sickle to the head. But you know, we do need to have that. I'm looking forward to Queen of the Damned if they actually, if that is the main focus of the next season. I am woman, hear me roar, and I'm going to swallow your soul like an evil deadite.
In the interim, if you're wanting to see something with female rage, I highly recommend The Bride by Maggie Gyllenhaal. That was a
Yes.
fantastic movie. I was
Mhm.
literally just talking to my fiance Fred about it the other day because we were watching the Batman movies, and I was like, I like Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel better. But it definitely that movie definitely encapsulates female rage, and if you're trying to get a female rage fix while waiting for Queen of the Damned, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Or The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
Oh
But
yeah.
that didn't do well.
No.
On to some shout outs. Who else is living on our network here?
Well,
Mark.
shout outs, please check out some of the other podcasts in the Pirate Core Entertainment Network, such as What's On Tonight, covering great shows like The Pit and Margot Has Money Problems, as well in the future, Crystal Lake, when it does come out. And I will be guesting on that. So we'll be re-promoting that onto this particular channel just the same. So give Mandy and Becky their just desserts when it comes to those shows. And when we pick it up with Crystal Lake, Panels to Pixels podcast, covering comics and book to screen series and movies. Yes, we will be back. Yes, it's been a while. I still have the first 4 episodes of Spider Noir that we covered. I'm going to have that out within a day or two after this. And guess what? Steve and I will be covering the last part, and we'll go into Supergirl, and we'll go into Spider-Man Brand New Day. So look for that to enjoy, to fill your ears with our thoughts. Adrenaline Cinema podcast covering action movies and shows, including our previous interview with the Vampire series and movie podcasts. Our friend Jerry Gomez, he was MIA for a little while. He's feeling a lot better now. So he and I are going to come back with the newer Apes movies. Yes, the ones with James Franco starting. So we're going to cover that, go into that series version, and then maybe a Harryhausen one, and then as well as some other stuff, maybe like what Billy had mentioned earlier. We were talking about the Odyssey. We'll do that for Adrenaline Cinema podcast and get that out for you too, because I'm chomping at the bit to go see that movie in myself.
Watch it in IMAX. It will scare the crap out of you.
I'm sure it will. There's also Dinner for Her, a podcast about real life historical women with flavor. Mary Wollstonecraft. Shelley.
Wollstonecraft.
So Mary Shelley, basically, everybody. And Eartha Kitt. who I always loved her as Catwoman. Anyhow, you could also look for the Pirate Core Music Podcast too, everybody. We will be coming back with that as well. My friend Rob and I, my friend Rob Muir, he and I are going to be covering the 50 years of Iron Maiden. So I'm hoping to get that out to you by at least September. I've been talking about it for a while, but my plan is by September after my birthday and at the end of August. So that way we could go deep dives, do a 2.5, 3 hour podcast separated in two. And then hopefully with anybody else who wants to jump in and talk about their favorite artist, album, or the overall catalog. So look out for that stuff. Just go to piratecoreentertainment.com.
Nice. And we wanted to show some love for our fellow podcasters, such as the Podcastica Network. They're currently covering Dead City, which has just started on AMC, and The Testaments. And Jason and crew also recently reviewed the movie Evil Dead Burn because he's a big Evil Dead fan. We also have our friends at TV Podcast Industries. They're on a little hiatus, but they recently did a summer 2026 shows we recommend. And Vampire Lestat was one of the shows they recommended. There's also the Run for Your Lives podcast with Paik and Daphne. They cover horror and action films, and they just recently covered Insidious, The Last Key, and Hokum, if you're interested in any kind of horror movie review.
That's our coverage of season 1 of the Vampire Lestat, episode 6, Montreal. Next week, we'll be covering the finale, episode 7, quote, The Failures. If you're interested in a book talk, we'll be covering that after our sign off. But for now, I'm Billie with an IE.
I'm Lara.
And I'm Mark.
And this has been Vampcast.
Thanks for listening. And now we were into the spoilery book section of our talk. And you were going to discuss the seance or the ceremony.
Yes, the ceremony, right. I have my copy of Merrick right in front of me, and I've marked the spot where Louis and Merrick are summoning Claudia. I want to read her dialogue, Claudia's dialogue, because it's very similar to what Claudia in the series says. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start reading it.
One major thing that is a difference in the book from the series is that Lestat is not present for this ceremony.
Yes, I think this is after Memnock, and he's catatonic right now. So he's sitting on a chapel floor catatonic. He stays that way for a while, and she writes a bunch of books while he's catatonic, and then he just wakes up at one point. So I can't remember why he wakes up. I just know he does.
I remember.
What was the reason that he woke up?
When Louis tries to end his life in the sun.
Oh, well, that would be a good reason.
And he comes and he helps David and Merrick regenerate Louis with the blood.
Oh yeah, because if they burn up in the sun, they can be brought back if someone pours vampire blood on their ashes.
If they're strong enough, vampire blood.
Right, which is why Magnus tells Lestat to spread his ashes after he's burnt up. Well, that's right, I forgot about that.
But they did put that scene sort of in season 2 when Louis steps out into the sun.
That's right. Okay, so I'm gonna start. A voice came out of it, fresh and sweet, a girl's natural treble. Why have you called me Louis? It asked with a heartbreaking sincerity. Why have you roused me from my wandering sleep for your own consolation? Why wasn't memory enough? And then she goes on to say, stop now with your chants and your commands. I do not answer to you, Merrick Mayfair. I come for the one who stands to the right of you. I come demanding why you've called me Louis. What is it that you would have me give you now? In life, did I not give you all my love? And then he goes, Claudia, where is your spirit? Is it at rest or does it wander? Would you have me come to you? Claudia, I am ready to do it. Claudia, I am ready to be at your side. And he's talking about killing himself to be with Claudia. And she says, you come to me? You, after all those many years of evil tutelage, you think that I and death would be united with you? I loathe you, evil father. Father, understand me. I never could find words to tell you truths when I was living. In this measureless place, I have no use for such curses. What is it to me, the love you lavished on me once in vibrant and free and feverish world? You want vows from me? And from the coldest heart imaginable, I condemn you. Condemn you that you took my life. Condemn you that you had no charity for the mortal I once was. Condemn you that you saw in me only the what filled your eyes and insatiable veins, condemn you that you brought me over into the lively hell which you and Lestat so richly shared. And she was not happy in the books, and she was not happy in the series. But one thing that's different is Merrick insists and tells Louis that spirits like to take on the guise of others sometimes.
Mhm.
And that it's quite unlikely that he was actually talking to Claudia. She tries to console him by saying that spirits can trick people and that these kinds of rituals and ceremonies are to be taken with a grain of salt because you never know who you're actually talking to.
Mm-hmm. And I almost wonder if Merrick kind of gets that from Catholic belief too, because her spirituality is a mix of the two, the Voodoo
Right.
and the Catholic. And in Catholicism, they say that ghosts don't exist, like you cannot be haunted by ghosts, whether malevolent or benevolent, that every single ghost is actually like demons trying to trick you. And that's what I thought of when I heard Merrick explaining to Louis that this was not really Claudia, that this was really a spirit trying to trick her, to trick
Right.
him. But I do like that. I think the way they played it in the episode, you kind of think that, but I really do think that it's Claudia, that Claudia is truly expressing her rage here. And I'm really upset that I forgot to bring this up in our main discussion. Maybe if Mark wants to do something clever in editing, he could take this little part right here where I said, this is Lara from the future. And I forgot to mention that after all the times that Lestat claims that he did not say anything about assaulting Claudia on the train, we find out that it's true because Claudia says that she ginned up the conversation on the train to make Louis more upset because she knew that at some point Louis would read her diaries and realize that like Lestat said these horrible things to her on the train, or maybe it's just what she expressed to Louis when she came back. She said that he made fun of her about her assault and said that he would do even worse to her, like lay her out in the sun and such. And apparently Lestat never did say that. Claudia used that as one of her manipulations to get Louis angry enough at Lestat to want to kill him.
This whole series, this whole storyline has all been about who's telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And you get from Interview with the Vampire, you find out that Louis recanting his first interview and restating the facts. And then Lestat comes in and goes, well, this was all bullshit anyway. They were all lying. None of this happened, which is why in the very beginning of the season, he's got a copy of Interview with the Vampire and he's reading, he goes, it was raining that night. Because he's like, this is not how this happened. This is not what I said. I didn't do this. Like, I love how this whole series consistently plays with memory. And even you get little bits here and there that tell you the actual story. And this was a moment when Claudia set the record straight, if only just a little bit.
Yes. And it seems like Lestat will admit to his wrongdoings, like when he admitted and he did not deny that he dropped Louis from the sky. But here he advocates over and over again that he did not say that to Claudia on the train. Like he may have manipulated her, he may have, coerced her to come off the train and everything, but he did not say that about her attack from Bruce. But she put it in there to fire up Louis.
It's sad because in the books, Claudia's 5 years old. She's like a porcelain doll. And Delaney plays a much older Claudia. But either way, both Claudias are reliant on external forces for agency. And I can't imagine how frustrating that is, especially I think she lived a total of 70 years before she was killed.
Something like that.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, 70 years without your own agency, that's got to be maddening.
Yeah. It also reminds me of if you ever watched the movie Near Dark.
Yes, I love that movie.
I love it too. And
me too.
It's something I eventually will probably cover on this podcast because it follows the dark paths. There's that child that was part of the family, and he would only be able to be gravitating towards little girls or girls around the age that he was. And the fact is that that's what she had to do during that time. And it's so sad because they have to live that. And there's another movie too. I think it's either
Let the Right One In.
Yep, Let the Right One In. There's two different versions. There's the American version, and what is it? A French version or is it a?
No, it's
Swedish?
Yeah, Swedish.
And both are very
Mhm.
good, very different. And the adaptation, obviously, the Swedish version was the original, but I highly recommend those for those listeners that are interested in this kind of stuff and that lore. And if you haven't really embraced anything like that, check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also a book. Let the Right One In. It's also a novel.
Yes.
I haven't read
It
it. I
is.
want to read it, but I would recommend it as a book in general. I've heard a lot of talk about it.
Yep.
So that was the seance. Is there any other book related information in this episode that you wanted to talk about, Billy?
No, this episode is 100% new lore.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Except for
Besides-
the Claudia
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
Right.
And Merrick stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's all 100% new lore. So there's no, besides the ceremony, there's no book equivalent.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So we're in new
Yeah, and I
territory.
love that they shocked us book readers with the beheadings
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't know what was going on then either. That was all
No.
new for us.
Yeah.
There is no vampire Alex, no vampire Tough Cookie, no vampire salamander, and there's no salamander.
No.
So
That's what I love about this show is that I said that on a post somewhere that it doesn't follow the book to the letter, but it follows it
Right.
to the heart. It has the
Right.
heart of the book, but it adds in a lot of new stuff that just makes us book readers as new to the series as people who have never read the book. So I
Well,
love
'cause
it.
you find yourself going, yeah, I could see the characters actually doing this. Yeah, this makes sense. Lestat would react this way. Lestat would say this. Louis would do that. Yeah.
It makes us salivate more for the blood that they're going to feed us later on in this show.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's it for tonight then. We'll see you guys next week for the finale.
So excited.
Same here.
Farewell.
Bye bye, everybody.